I aim to disappoint. Welcome to another episode of Easy 8's Online Painting Club. My name's Danny and I will be on time, much to the chagrin and disappointment of the people in the live chat. How are you doing, everybody? Happy Friday. For the next 2 hours, I'm going to be here painting my miniatures. Not actually such a mini miniature, but I'll be painting my models nonetheless for the next 2 hours live with you. Hopefully, you'll be painting some of your stuff too. We've all got the big piles of stuff that's just kind of around us that needs painting, and what a better way to do it, spending it time live with company from all over the world. So yeah, how are you doing? I've had a busy week. I've had one of those weeks where as every day goes on I get more and more tired despite trying to go to bed earlier, and then I stopped going to bed earlier, so I went to bed later, and then I got even more tired. So I think like halfway through the show I might just fall asleep. That would be really funny, wouldn't it, if I actually just fell asleep in the middle of a live stream? I wonder if that would generate any more likes or subscribes, which brings me on to the fact that if you like what we do here at Easy 8, or if you just enjoy coming along for the ride, maybe you just want to kind of get some models painted with some company, you don't really care about the live chat, whatever, please do give us a subscribe, because that is how the community grows. Oh, excuse me. So if you're painting something this evening, come and tell us all about it. I'm genuinely inspired, motivated by the stuff that you do, and there's been some incredible works going on lately. Adrian, who's in the live chat today, is just literally just every week is just ticking off those things, that big list of stuff that's unpainted. So that's really inspiring to see. Some of you guys are like spending all your focused time on one model, and there's some beautiful stuff going on there, guys. Well done to all of you. I've just nudged my webcam. Very excited today. And of course it's just a Friday, isn't it? So happy weekend, everybody. I've got my cup of tea right here. Cheers, happy Friday. It's just come out of the kettle. It's going to be... No, I can't do that right now. If you like what we do, of course, do subscribe, please, and hit the thumbs up button for this video. I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that. I normally have the tea at this point, but it is really, I literally just made it, came in here. I can't do it. I can see the comments are going, imagine waking up with a cut mark stuck to your face with the whole world watching. There have been some embarrassing things over the years of doing Easy 8, and a couple of weeks ago I was so tired I actually took a sip of my drink and I spilled it all down my front. And I haven't deleted that. That's out there for you to go and see. So yeah, check that out if you want to. All of my videos for Easy 8 from all across the years is always there for you to go backwards and watch. For some people, that's a really handy thing. You might be living in a different time zone. And John over at Out of This World Models and Minis does. Hi, John. How you doing, mate? Loving the new model, by the way. You should definitely go and check out John's channel. Links to all of other associated people, etc., all down there. But don't do it right now. Hang on for a second, because we're going to get some painting done. But you should definitely go show John and all the other people down there. Show them a little bit of love, because they're nice people, and they deserve your attention too. But later. Thanks very much. Don't forget that we're here not just on YouTube, but on Instagram, Facebook and Discord, where you can join me at the end of the show, and all of these crazy people over here as well, at the Discord Easy 8 After Party. Normally I messed that bit up, but it all came out today. Who have we got in the live chat? Let's go and have a little look. We've got Shiv from Table of Horrors. Hi Shiv, how are you, pal? You doing okay? We've got my dad, Jeff Lacey. Hi buddy, just us then. No, I was on time today. Never fear, for I'm here, says Adrian. Hi Adrian. Looks like we're all gathering in time, but the question is, will the main man Danny be on time? And then Crumbs, hi Crumbs, put in his 2 pence worth, probably 2 to 3 minutes late. Over if pattern stays true. And do you know what? I've worked very hard and I deserve to be 2 or 3 minutes late. I am very sorry that sometimes I am late, but you know what? Life. Like the band Black Box, he was right on time. I do like that song. It is a fun song. Crumb says, working on Corvus Hagoth, a Blight Lord. That was quite a load of syllables to say. At the moment, in honour of a moderator who makes me work harder to try to get me blending to his standards. Well, good for you. Do you know what? We could all do with a little bit of pressure sometimes. Pressure is what makes us hit deadlines. It's what gets stuff done. So, yeah, maybe set yourself some deadlines or ask Shiv to crack the whip to maybe get stuff done. I'm just here for you. It's a safe space for you to come along and get some stuff painted. Some of you, I say some of you because I don't have families with children and things like that. I've just got a couple of cats and a partner, and they're very patient and forgiving. But sometimes it's very difficult around work, our lives, our families, or whatever, to find the time to, you know, spend that time doing our hobby or whatever. And that's what this show is all about. So just nice to be able to have those couple of hours every Friday to carve out to do your stuff. Am I being pimped out as a painting Dom? Yes. And as this show is all for free, I'm not paying you for it either. Anyway, shall we just head straight on over to the workbench? Here we go. Come and let me know what it is that you're painting this evening. I'm going to be painting this guy who, if you remember at the end of last week's show, I was really struggling to get this leg on. I was worried that all of the limbs being put back on was going to cause me quite a bit of hassle. They didn't cause me that much hassle, which I'm very happy to announce. I thought that it was going to be a lot of like pushing and shoving and, you know, the scratching paint off and things, but actually it all went on very well apart from this leg. And about 15-20 minutes after we finished being live, it went pop straight on there while I was talking to the guys over at Discord. So yes, it is all back together again apart from a few crucial pieces. You'll notice that he's missing his shoulder pads and his head. There are a couple of things. One thing I actually forgot to do. I don't even know how I missed it. I have been very tired lately. I'm going to point with his head stick. These little ribbed features down here in his hips area, they weren't highlighted. It's only subtle highlighting. If you look at the bits on his ribs, you'll notice that they stand out just a little bit more. That's because they got like a lighter grey highlight on them, and it does make a difference. I don't know if it picks up on the camera very well, but on in front of my face, there is quite a difference there. And I need to do also the same on his neck. When I was doing his neck, I was just tired and I had a really shaky hand, and I just wasn't able to do a very good job. So I thought rather than ruin it, I'll leave it. So I'm going to do those today, and I'm going to blacken out the shoulders here. The shoulder pads will cover all of this, but this is where I had the sticks where I was holding it so I could paint it easier. This shows a little bit under the shoulder pads when they're on, and I don't want that. Do you see what I mean? I don't want that to be the case, so I'm going to blacken all of this area out. It's just going to be pure black. Not going to worry about going around or anything, literally just the top area here, all the way around. And I'm going to do the same on the inside, because as you can see on the inside there, that's where the sticks were attached. And that was just for me holding them while I was painting them, spraying them or whatever. It just made life a lot easier. So that's just going to go black, and we'll never ever see any more of that ever again. The backpack still comes off. The backpack still comes off. It's just on very tight, but it will come off. So if I need to do some painting in there, I can take that off to do some more if I want to. Super simples, right? I've got some details all around him. We're going to do details another time. In the second half of this show, I'm going to do his company markings. Now, Dark Angels, I'm not very familiar with Dark Angels. I know we've got quite a few people in the live chat that do like them. There are company markings that often go on the left knee, and for every company, of which there are 10, I believe. Dark Angels for standard Space Marine armies, there's 10. I think it is the same with Dark Angels, but every marking on the knee means a different company, so expect different markings on these per the company. I was looking at them all. It doesn't really bother me which company he's supposed to come from, so I was just looking at what patterns I like the most, and there is one where we bisect the knee pole, the knee cup, if you like, the bowl. Bisect it that way. The bottom half of it is one solid colour, which is a cream colour, and then the top half of it is a cream check, and the other part of that check is either black or the green of his armour. So I'll just see which one I prefer, really. Now, the reason I bring this up, because I could do all these little details later on and do other bits and pieces like his pouches and grenades, is that over the last few weeks some people have been not crying out to me, but have been asking if it was possible to do some check work, freehand checks together. So that's what we can do this evening. So if you've got some checks and things that you need to be painting on your models, today is definitely the day where we could do it. Now, this isn't a tutorial show, but if there's something that I can do to a reasonable degree and you guys want to know or learn from that, of course I'll show you what I do, what works for me. So we can turn it into a little bit of a paint along today if you want to. And if that is something that you guys would like more of, or would even like to go more in depth into just for an hour, like the painting of checks freehand, then it is absolutely something that we can do. I'd like to say that I can do, not another channel, but I can do like an additional show every week. Sometimes I used to do things like that back in the day, but at the moment my new job I don't really have the time for that. But if that's something that you want, we can dedicate a part of a Friday evening to it. I'd love to be able to do something like that, just to be able to pass on the skills that I've picked up and taught myself over the years of doing Easy 8. Before Easy 8 I wasn't very good, so yeah, just giving a little bit of dust as I'm sat here talking about it. Because he picks up stuff and he just, I don't know, like things just stick to him. So he just needs to get rid of all that dusty bits. You'll also notice, oh, I wonder if you can notice, occasionally there's like a little dot. There's two here. See those little dots, those shiny little dots? That is the matte paint, or the ultra matte paint, or sorry, varnish, that I was using over the last couple of weeks. And sometimes, if I spray it too hard, it comes out too fast. It puts on a slightly thicker layer and it comes out quite glossy. That is what happens when it spatters out of the airbrush. And I can't really stop the spattering. The varnish that I've used in the past is the really cheap version of Vallejo's varnish. They're both Vallejo. This is the one that comes in the big paint set. I've got a satin, a matte and a gloss of this. Frankly, this stuff is really good. It doesn't. I don't have the same problems with the ultra matte. I don't know why it's so difficult to use. If it comes out even remotely thicker than a light dusting, it comes out glossy, and then I can't get rid of the gloss. If I spray over it with this ultra matte, it doesn't do the job. So I think I'm just going to keep on using this because I've got a lot of it anyway, to keep making those protective layers. And at the end, I might just get some more of this cheap. I'm going to call it cheaper, but it's just, you know, I think it is just cheaper in how it's made, perhaps. And then I'll do like a final coat of that because I know that will get rid of glossiness. So I don't know why that is the case. Anyway, those are some things I'm going to be doing this evening. Let me know what it is that you're painting this evening. If you are painting a project or even just joining us along for the show, do let me know. I'm interested in all the stuff that you're painting. It's a club. Come and tell me about it. Right, so I think first things first, I'm going to put the big boy over there. And I'm going to go to these bits here. I'm just going to paint these bits inside just black. And I wonder, I did have a big squeezy tube of black just for doing black stuff, but whatever. I'll use this one here. So this black here is just my airbrush black. I had like a big squeezy tube of black. I thought, well, rather than wasting my airbrush paint, I'll use that one, but I think I've actually moved it. Whatever. Who cares? That heraldry is for fourth company. It's a black and white check with a cream lower. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, for fourth company then. Yeah, I can't quite remember. So it was on my phone. I don't plan to get to that stage until the second part of the show anyway, so that could be a bit later. And during the intermission, I will have a quick check on my phone, find it, get it on the screen. Yeah, you know what I mean. Adrian says, just need to know what to do for the 2025 Project 10. To do a Primaris Inferno squad or do my squad of Chaos Warp Talons. For me, it's all about the Loyalist Space Marines. Don't get me wrong, like Chaos, yeah, good fun and all that. But I've never really rated Chaos. Sometimes it's fun to talk about demons and whatever, but I think 40k is more than the Imperium and their exact opposite, which is Chaos. I think that it should be more. There should be more focus on the Xenos, because that's where all the variety is. That's where all the fun is. So I think if you're like talking about loyal Space Marines versus Tau or Eldar or Dark Eldar or Eldari and Drukhari as they're now known, Tyranids, Necrons, Orcs, I think for me that's where the fun really is. Now, not to say that it shouldn't be about Chaos. If you like Chaos, you like Chaos. Good for you, man. And you know, don't get me wrong, like Chaos occasionally, it's good to have. But you know, in every both versions of the Space Marine video game that we've had, is Chaos has always featured so heavily in it. It's almost like all the Xenos races are just a sideshow to this big good versus evil, and then people try to attempt the the conversation of, oh, who is really bad? Chaos. Chaos are really bad. It's just the Imperium's just an ultra right-wing capitalist organization. Like Chaos, they are the bad people. They go around skinning people alive and sticking them to the front of their tanks and stuff. Chaos are bad. So yes, maybe there's bad and evil, but still, I suppose in some ways I get a bit bored of the constant good versus evil rhetoric when there is so much variety out there and awesomeness. Cool. A very simple job, isn't it? All it is just painting black paint on. I'm just using a big old brush here. That's literally all I'm doing. And just getting these bits here covered because they'll stand out. And I am, I suppose, cutting corners because I could sand these big lumpy insults away. But if I don't have to, I'm not gonna. So nah. What I will do, because the shoulder pads are quite easy to put on and pop off, much easier to pop off actually than they are to put back on again, is that if I don't like it and it still looks shabby, then I can just pop them off and then sand it down and repaint it again later. No dramas. But if for the most part this paint covers it up, good for me. And I'm just painting all the way around, just the other side of it here, just for consistency. If I'm going to paint the front side of his arm over here black, I might as well do the back of his shoulder over here as well. So it's just me being a consistent person. Now I'm expecting to have to do a couple of layers. That's fine. I can always speed them up with the Drymatic. That's a hairdryer to you and me. And then of course I'm going to go over it with a layer of varnish or two just to protect it, because it's going to need it. I like doing stuff with the airbrush, it's really fun to kind of get like large areas or large groups of stuff done really fast. It's really good to do zenithal highlighting and things like that, or to get some rendering stuff done and airbrush blending and things. All the tones that I've managed over this whole model has been really fun doing that with the airbrush. It's also really good doing like stencils as well. Really enjoy doing all that sort of stuff. After a little while doing airbrush, it's always good fun to come back to the standard brush again. And likewise, when I've been using the brush for a little bit, it's always nice to go back to the airbrush. I really do like having the two. Do you guys use both airbrush and standard brush, or do you just use one or the other? Do you have a preference? Do you like bouncing between the two? Okay. There we are. You can see me having to come back in and sand those down at some point. They are quite ugly scars, aren't they? That if the shoulder pads don't hide them, it does show a little bit. It does. Okay. Something in my mouth. That was pretty unpleasant. A bit of pesto or something. Sorry that you had to see that. I'm just a human. Okie dokes. Stay there, please, brush. Thank you very much. Time for some tea. Still very hot. Still learning how to use my airbrush effectively at the moment. I'm going to be honest with you, pal. I've had my airbrush for longer than I've been doing Easy 8, and I'm still learning too. It's just one of those things. Have fun with it, enjoy it for what it is, and use it for a purpose, and then everything else kind of falls in behind it. For me, it was about getting my horde army, my Tyranids done quicker, and then with that some terrain and things like that as well. As I just kind of got used to, like, putting paints in it, mixing them up, etc, etc, and trigger action, and then what I actually did, it was eventually everything else just started falling into place. So yeah, it's fun to use though, isn't it? I just like it. It's good fun. Okay, so I'm gonna do them highlights on those hip bits now. At the rear, it's a little trickier in here because I put his space pants on, so I'm not gonna get overly infatuated with space pants. I'm just gonna do my best and lift this bum flap as best I can. Got little bits of dust that just stick to him. Get away. Crumb says airbrush equals indoor priming. It does, man. That is a big thing. I'm gonna be honest with you, I never used to prime before I had the airbrush. I just didn't do it. I was a cheapskate. Brush for the most part. Airbrush I need to practice with to get good. Yeah, we need to practice everything to get good. I don't believe in practice makes perfect, by the way. I don't know if any of you know that about me. I don't believe in practice makes perfect. That is an absolute abject lie. Practice makes better. There is no such thing as achieving perfection. Perfection is only something that you should strive for. The striving for perfection is, by definition, excellence. If you are always trying to improve, if you are striving for perfection, then you are excellent at what you are doing. Art is subjective. There is your thing that you do isn't more excellent than mine. It doesn't. If yours is better, it doesn't make mine not excellent. Yours becomes excellent. Everything is excellent. It's about the effort that you're putting into that. The moment you achieve perfection, the moment you failed, because you're not pushing yourself to develop anymore or to learn something new or do it in a different way. So bear that in mind. That's today's philosophical debate, brought to you by the caring voice of Danny. Yeah, that's right. I'm intelligent too. Who knew? I'm more than just intelligent. I'm also really good looking. So yeah, yay for me. Yana's joined us. Hi Yana, nice to see you. Haven't seen you for ages, mate. Yeah, hope you're doing well. Evening. It's been a while. You're absolutely right. It has been. Well, nice to see your name in the live chat, pal. Come and join us for the evening, mate. Right, what was I going to do? Something else. Yes, grey stuff. The grey that I was using for the highlights was Eshin grey. So I'm just going to give that a shake. Is my camera actually lined up properly? It's always out of line, isn't it? The little grids down here, right down here, along this bit here, and it really bugs me that bottom row isn't. It's just I'm a little bit. I hate it. True perfection has to be imperfect. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Samurai believed that the katana was a perfect imperfect weapon, or an imperfect perfect weapon rather. The process of making the katana was a perfect process, and it was a perfect blade that came out. But when they made the hamon, which is the fingerprint mark that goes along the edge of the blade, every single one was always like incredibly different, and it was the imperfection within perfection, making the thing that is perfect not perfect. I love that. And humble, says Crumbs. Yes, I'm intelligent, I'm smart, and I'm very humble. Get over it. Also, passive aggressive today. Right, that's a little bit of Eshin grey in the palette there. Just going to put a bit of water in that to water that down. That looks like a pretty good ratio there. Happy with that. Also, I'm going to ruin it and add some more because that's who I am. I'm like so humble, the humblest of the humble. Thanks, man. Yeah. You know it. Okay. Before I upset anybody, of course, let's move on. I am gonna get... I think I overused my 000. No. So I'm going to force myself to use my single zero, my zero brush. So it's got bristles good enough for this. All I need to do is get in here. Should be a fairly simple process, he says, but of course I'm going to have a breakdown in a second and I'll end up going back to my 000. Does need a bit more water in. There we go. That's a bit better. Right, mind your arm, mate. There we go. And that one, please. So I've got to just get some highlights in here. I'm already regretting the choice of brush. I now want to go to my 000. Bit tricky sometimes with the angle, so I'm just going to change that angle now. Already a really big difference just in highlighting that one side. I'm sure you can see that. Makes quite a difference, doesn't it? There's also a little bit on the top of his leg in there, which I'm fairly certain if I started painting that it's going to start rubbing off, so I'm just going to leave it. That is going to make me squeal inside a little because I do like to try to paint everything, but it will all be for nothing. It will just get scraped off. So hold him a bit of a weird angle sometimes because the light shining off him prevents me from seeing where I'm actually painting the highlights. Okay. There we go. I don't mind it being a bit rough, and it was a little bit rough. It wasn't the best highlighting in the world, but I don't mind that because it just kind of adds to the effect, basically. Don't want to move him around too much because I'm going to get that paint all rubbed off and scratched off by his hips down there, so I'm trying to be quite careful. He says, moves his leg. Stay still, please. There's a few comments going in now. I'll have to go back and catch up on those in just a second. Wait for the paint to dry. There, that was all it really needed. It didn't need anything more than that at the back there. Okie dokie. I'm ever so quickly going to go back to the black, and I'm just going to redo these bits on the arms because it's there and I can. What have I done with the black, please? Where are you? There you are. And the rest of it I don't really mind so much. Just this bit here at the front, which is going to be the most visible. Lovely. I could do all that grey highlighting in his hands, but I'm not gonna. This is just a fun project. I'm not going to get too in detail about it because ultimately the quality of the model isn't that great. It's a toy, it's an action figure, it's got huge great big seams on it. After I've removed all the seams, it's rubbery, it's plastic rubber, it doesn't move very well, its hand is an awful shit, it doesn't actually hold on to its rifle properly. There's a lot of things to be unhappy about it, so I just enjoy it for what it is. A bit of fun, and it's really important to have projects like that sometimes, which is why I'm doing it now. I'm just having fun with it. I'm not taking it too seriously. I've done a sort of a weird highlight thing on it, which is kind of zenithal, but not. So yeah, just chilling out with the project really, and enjoying putting colour on something. That's what it's all about, I think. So I've still got to do some grey highlights on the neck. I just want everything else to sort of dry a little bit. There is on his back. If I remove the backpack, it's a bit easier to see without it there. Am I going to be able to remove it? Should go. doesn't want to. There it goes. On his back are the straps, looks like straps for his backpack. So I'm going to highlight these grey as well. And for this one, I am going to get my 3mm brush, or my 3mm, my 3 or 000 brush. 3mm? Oh, it looks like it could be 3mm. Okay. Still got some of the Eshin grey in the palette. Bit of water in there. Do it a bit more grey, I think. Blush. Excellent. So, dust it down because he is quite dusty. There we are. And this is one of those little background details where it's just nice to have something a little subtle. So I'm going to do my very best to not get precious about it. I just need it to be quite a wet paint. It needs to be quite watery. So it just transfers nice and quick. There's a lot to do on these little straps, and I don't want to be sat here forever doing them. So add a bit of water. Okay. Now I could dry brush them, I just don't like dry brushing very much, so I'm going to try to not do that. It's showing it quite well on the camera, isn't it? It's actually quite difficult to see face to face. Again, it's all about lighting and shadows and reflections. I can't really see all that clearly where the paint is going. Okay, I'm going to do the tops of them nice and quickly. Looks okay, doesn't it? Quick check on the camera for quality control. Quite like that. Not going to worry about the underside, never going to see it. Got one at the top. They're quite a bit narrower, thinner lines just here, so I'm not going to bother doing it right now. I'll come back and do that a little bit later. Probably get these ones on the side here done first. That's what I basically want to get practiced. Okay. Don't know if anybody heard that, but there was a cat on my roof. Scared the bejesus out of me. I can't quite get the paint to come off that on that particular area there. Just I've got these stripes here, and the bottom part of those stripes, the paint's not really. There we go. Because of the quality of the rubber or plastic or whatever, sometimes like the surface you're painting on is just a little bit awkward. It doesn't quite catch the paint from the bristles, and well, ultimately it doesn't come off. Try and keep myself in the camera shot again. And again, you know, this is just one of those subtle background details. It doesn't have to be the best thing in the world. It just needs to be a little distraction from the monotony of everything else. There's a lot of very dark green on here. There's a lot of big open spaces and, you know, just blank panels and whatnot. And to have these little subtleties in the background just kind of mixes things up a little bit. It's kind of cool. Mixing up a bit more grey. I think I've made that too watery. Guesses. I'll add a bit more paint in there then. See, enter Dax or the other one. Can't remember the fuzzy's name. Yeah, Dax isn't the roof cat. That's Binka, his sister. That's the one you can't remember. She's the one that'll be up there. She has, on the odd occasion while I've been painting away, like off air, or playing video games on my PC rig, which is behind me, she'll just like jump in on my lap and scare the life out of me. She's a sneaky thing. If I've got the window open, she will come in. She slid down, so she might have actually hurt herself, but my partner hasn't come running up into the room yet, so I think that is a good sign. Because here in the house I'm actually quite high up, especially over the backyard. Actually quite a tall house, and I'm right up inside, right up at the top. Come back to this side and make this look a little bit more defined, because the other side I did a bit better at the end there. There we go, that's a bit better. Okay, I'm going to do this top piece now. It's really tricky. It's almost an area that should be dry brush, really. Okay, it's got some colour on it. It's not an area that I'm all that fussed about. It hasn't gone that well, so I'm just going to leave it. That's okay. And now be careful of the bits that I've just painted. This little neck unit inside the collar here will all tip forwards. There we go. Look at that. So that'll give me a bit of better access in there. I don't know how much behind his head here you're going to actually see of this neck collar thingy. But again, it's always nice just to kind of see it through, isn't it? Just paint the whole thing. Oh, I've got an itchy eye. Oh, that's better. I think that is as much as I really need to do. I've kind of hit all those black areas with a highlighted grey. I'm not being precious about them at all. I just want there to be a little bit of depth to those features that could otherwise be black, but I want them to stand out a little bit, so they all get the black and grey treatment. Now there are going to be areas that when I finally put him in his, not in his final pose, but there will be a final pose. He's a poseable action figure. He's supposed to be like always poseable, right? It's kind of the whole point. But I want there to be a position where he kind of stands in, holds his rifle, and we all go, oh yeah, that's a Space Marine that we all know. As I start manipulating those joints into place, because I can see there's a little gap here in his wristlet. See that? There is going to be one behind this elbow piece that definitely needs to close in to hold the rifle in a much more natural position. There's going to be areas that I'm going to have to touch up with black and grey and things like that. So yeah, whatever. That's absolutely fine. That's tomorrow's problem. That's for another day. Right now, I've got a Space Marine that looks like he's about to have his head and his shoulders put on, and that is exactly where we want to be. So coming back from the break, what we're going to do is we're going to put some varnish on him, and then I'm going to start putting that knee emblem on. That's going to be quite exciting, that is. So now is a good time for a break, I think. But just before we disappear, I'm going to have a quick look at all the live chat, because there's been loads going on while I've been concentrating quietly. I get really focused in. I'm just going to have a quick flip through. Ripper swarms. I think we're talking about here about horde armies, aren't we? That's what we're going on about there. Ripper swarms are hard, man. Adrian says he's got 2 colours left to finish Gaunt's Ghosts, so they will be finished during the show. That's exciting if you haven't already finished them. That's pretty cool, man. Ripper Swarm's not Gaunt Ghosts. Are you talking about the cream? Yeah, getting a cream for your Ripper Swarms? No, there's absolutely no cream. Just a flamethrower, like Jeff says. Just need to know what to do for 2025 project. We've already spoken about that, haven't we? I would strongly recommend their Primus Inferno squad. I love a flamethrower and I love a Primaris squad. So yeah, get them done. Anything else that I've missed? Horace was misunderstood. Yeah, absolutely he was. We all thought he was a good guy. Where are we? I overused my 0002, says Crumbs. Paintbrush is okay though. Yeah, I watch pros on other channels on YouTube, and I see them with these long thin brushes, and they're doing like super detailed bits with them. I like my little detail brushes, my little Kolinsky brushes. I haven't had a decent set of brushes up until the last few years that I really take care of, you know, look forward to using. I've got a load of other tripod brushes up here. They just get used for, you know, messier things, but I really look after my 4 Kolinskys. But I don't feel that I've got a brush that does quite what people like El Mini Arturista does. Like, watching his work is just phenomenal. He's got quite a long, thin bristle, and the point just stays really pointy. My little 000 will hold its point, but it's not a very long or big brush, so I think I need to start looking at other brands. And I did find a thread somewhere talking about this particular brand for very long sets of bristles, but you know, I'm not there just yet. We'll have a little look. Yana says, I was having a little break in this hobby after when I was building my Warbringer Titan. A 20 by 10mm magnet exploded in front of my eyes, and hospital was the next trip. So after that, no motivation. Oh my god. I'm so sorry I missed that comment earlier on. Mate, I hope you're absolutely fine. I hope you've recovered well. That doesn't sound like something that you could have prepared for. No one would think about wearing goggles for putting magnets on or whatever. But, oh my goodness, I hope that you are okay and that there's been no lasting damage, man. Look after yourself. Please be safe. That's always one of my sign-off mottos. Please be safe, man. I don't know if I'm late to the game or not, but I tried the barbecue pepperami for the first time. You disgust me. Yana says, is there a Space Marine action figure like this that has the original Scream-like helmet? I just don't like the new Primaris helmet. No, there isn't, but you can buy third-party prints on Etsy. So go and have a look at all the sort of stuff over there. You obviously be paying a little bit extra for it, but you know, if that's what you want, that's what you can get. So yeah, there's all sorts of add-ons, extras, and whatever. And I think Mike, who's in the live chat now, Mike Turner, hi Mike. I think he has also, if not purchased some, but been looking at them in the past. So have a little chat with him if you haven't already. I'm just kind of cracking on through the live chat here. Gaunt's ghosts are finished, says Adrian. Fantastic. Picture has been posted to the old Booker face. A fuller gallery will be posted to Discord later. Cheers, mate. Love that. Thank you very much. No, I want a pet hedgehog just to call him Daka. Oh, in reference to my cat being called Dax. Yeah, please do. Just call any pet Daka. It's a great name for an animal. Playing Mech Warrior tonight, and I killed a mech with a running headbutt. Good for you, man. He had no weapons, and I ran out of ammo, and it was a duel with 7 minutes left to go. Backed out and ran straight home, and it worked. Tapped into my inner Scottish. Yeah, absolutely. I like your style. Right, brilliant. Cool, it is time for the break, and then I'm just going to let this kind of set for a minute. Hopefully all those bits of paint haven't rubbed off, or I've rubbed them off my big fat sausage fingers or whatever. No, that's all looking pretty good. I'm really happy with that. These little black areas here, they're quite heavily scarred, but you know, when they've got these things on them, it shouldn't matter so much. I just wanted it to be a bit harder to see. Yeah. I might have to go back and repaint it another time. Whatever. I'm okay with that. I don't want to be doing all that boring stuff on the show. I'm doing the exciting fun stuff. And the fun stuff that I'm going to be doing when we come back is painting that heraldry on his knee. So come and join me for some freehand checkers. I'm going to get it all wrong. It's going to go horribly wrong. But come and join me in about 10 minutes. In the meantime, I will see you soon. Bye-bye. And welcome back. I had to go outside and just check to see if the cat hadn't fallen off the roof, but there's a cat in the spare room looking out a window into a starless sky. She's very she's not an outdoors cat. She just likes to sit there in the window, just watch the world go by, and yeah, she's kind of cool. There's no splat cat outside, so we're all good. Anyway, look, it's the weekend, so I went and got myself a grown-up juice as per the norm. I haven't bought myself any booze recently, but my partner works in the same industry as I do, works for a sister company, and she worked very, very hard over the last week, and as a thank you, her clients all clubbed together and bought her and her colleagues some beers, which my partner doesn't drink, so I got them, and it's my favourite. So happy weekend, everybody. I hope that all your lives are going well. I hope your painting's going excellently. I hope you're pushing yourselves to develop, and I hope that you are all happy. So happy weekend, everybody. Cheers. Tastes a little bit different out of a can, but I'm not going to complain. It was free. Thank you very much to those people that got me these beers. Right, so I'm at a point where I'm going to start doing some delicate freehand work. If you want to come and join me in that, well, then we can learn together. If not, you can just carry on watching me painting your own stuff if you like. That's absolutely fine. Don't forget, if you like what we do here, please do consider subscribing to the show. This show is made for you, the community, to kind of get together, network, connect, make friends, just chat away, sharing the hobby that we all are very passionate about, and it's just a nice way of carving out 2 hours every week to do the thing that we enjoy doing. Excuse me. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do consider so. Bring a friend along. Maybe you know someone who you think they might benefit from a show like this. Get them to come along too. Bring your kids if you want. It's an absolutely safe space for everybody. So yeah, we're at 239 subscribers as of this show, and I absolutely agree with the guys in the live chat there who are saying that 300 subs, I drink the paint water. It happens sometimes. I'll do it for 300. And at 400, absolutely we get an ice cream lady, like the old National Express days. I remember people telling stories about the National Express and the trolley dolly that used to be on National Express, which is, I suppose it's the UK version of the Greyhound. For those of you that don't know what National Express is, there used to be a trolley dolly on there. Lady had sandwiches and teas and whatever, and I used to use the National Express quite a lot before I learned to drive, to go up and down the country, and I'd be on the coach for like 9 hours. And the first time that I ever got on one, there was no trolley dolly. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just that one. No, they got rid of them just before I started using National Express. I never experienced the National Express trolley dolly. My life already. So yeah, I had to deal with making my own sandwiches in the morning and taking them with me. Rubbish. Toffee all the way for your sweet popcorn. Yeah, I do love a toffee popcorn. Sweet or salty popcorn. I like the mix. I don't mind a mix. I quite like that as well. Grown-up juice for me is 0.0 San Miguel. Do you know what, mate? Drink responsibly. Just because I'm having a boozy drink, and it's only an ale. It's not nothing stronger than that. Just because I'm having one doesn't mean that you have to. Sounds like I've had 10 though, doesn't it? I stammer sometimes. It happens. Man, I remember the cinema had a break halfway. And that's when we got ice cream. They only do it for really long movies now. I remember going to see all the Lord of the Rings movies, and they had an intermission in them because people just needed to go and like check their lives, like their emails, and go to the bathroom and things. Like, those films were long, and you absolutely need an intermission. Otherwise, like if it's 2.5 hours long, I'm like, yeah, let's just crack on with the film. I'm here for the experience. Let's go. I'll wet myself. I don't care. So yeah, there we go. Please subscribe. Anyway, let's move on. I'm going to come away from the workbench. I'm going to go to the workbench. Here we go. When I say go away from the workbench, I mean go to the workbench. So, look, you can see that the whole ensemble is starting to come together now. It still is a very dark and very monotone sort of canvas that we've got going on here, but there's going to be little bits and pieces going on there now. I'm going to start with the emblem on the knee here. Obviously this badge on the front here is all going to be painted up eventually at some point. The details on the sides are going to be there as well. There's no reason why I can't do other details or emblems on him anyway. The shield, or sorry, the pauldron with the icon on the side there, I'm going to paint a big red arrow on the other side with a number on there as well, and I'm going to show you more on that in just a minute. I don't think there's anything that goes on this knee, but I will just get my phone here, because during the first half of the show, Adrian in the live chat sent me a picture, and it is a picture of the Dark Angels Codex, and here we have all of the company markings. This is what I was looking at a little while ago, and Adrian sent it to me for easy reference. Thanks, Adrian. Really appreciate that, mate. Found it in a pinch. I'd have had to Google search that. So we've got each of the different companies. The first company is the Terminator Company, or the Veteran Company, where they have the Crux Terminatus, which is the four-sided cross thing with the skull in the middle. And then there's the 10th Company, and that changes from army to army, but is often the Scout Company. They don't have their own marking. It's just like a bland thing or whatever. But these are all the battle companies and reserve companies, etc. There is a second company in there, which I think, because the Dark Angels have the Raven Wing and the Death Wing, which are two different versions of a veteran company at the front, so they don't have a second company either. So yeah, the fourth company is absolutely what I was thinking of, and like Adrian says, it is a cream crescent underneath, or the bottom half of it is a crescent, so the bottom half is a cream colour, and then on the top we've got black and white checks. So I'm going to try and do it all freehand. I've got quite a large area to do that in. If I look at this picture of the Battle Brother here, he's actually this guy is a. It says third on his arm, so he is a part of the third squad. It says down there, third squad of the 5th company. He's got the 5th company marking there. See, and that's on that knee. There's nothing on this knee over here. There's nothing stopping me from doing it. I could if I wanted to. He's got his icons or whatever on his arms, on his shoulders that are all painted up, and you can see it's a double-headed arrow. So in the Dark Angels, they don't do the single-headed arrow that points upwards like a lot of the companies do. They do a side-to-side one where it points in both directions. That's going to be a bit trickier to paint. I'm actually going to airbrush that on. I'm going to make a stencil out of tape. That's for another day, and I'm fairly certain I can find a a water slide decal for the number there. But that's tomorrow's problem. Today is all about that knee, and then first of all, I think what I really need to do is to paint a glossy patch of varnish onto the area, because it's just a little bit easier to paint on and make mistakes and rub away. So I'm going to do just that. I am going to. Is my airbrush clean? Stop it. Is it actually clean? Stop. It's never clean. I was just going to get a bit of gloss varnish in there and just give it a quick spray, just because it will give me a nice even coat, and it will dry faster. Always need to just clean my needle off. It always picks up all those last little dregs, rubbish in there. Let me just get a little bit of cleaner. Move you out of the way. I don't want you getting covered in anything. A little bit of cleaner on the end of this swab. There we are. And if I just quickly rub the side of this needle down, just loosen off any of the old bits of varnish or detritus or whatever was in there. Good word, that, detritus, isn't it? Looking at some of the comments are going in there. Manchester Airport train station has a vending machine with Ben and Jerry's ice cream. The vending machines I saw in Japan were wild, says Shiv. Yeah, you lived in Japan for a while, didn't you? What was the craziest thing you saw being sold in vending machines over there, I wonder? Okay. One ruthlessly stubborn piece of varnish stuck on the end there like a piece of PVA glue. Do you remember doing that as a kid? We'd put PVA glue on your hands, pretend you were peeling off skin. I remember when I was about 10 or 11, my dad, Jeff, who's in the live chat there, was making moulds with latex. And he got a load of it on his hand. Whether he did it deliberately or not, I don't know. And I was in the adjacent room, and he came in and was like, Dan, look at this, look at this. And he had latex, which is kind of skin coloured on his hand, and a pair of tweezers, what looked like stuck in his hand. He came, look at this. He went, pulled it off, and all the skin stretched and ripped and exploded everywhere. And I remember being quite freaked out about that. And my dad just laughed. I look back on that, that was funny, man. I'm old enough to have used the ashtrays that were on the back seats in the cinema. Oh my goodness. Bleh. Oh dear, could you imagine that? the nozzle of my airbrush is blocked. That was what was bothering me last week, wasn't it? It's jammed right in there. Oh yeah, that is proper blocked. Okay, cool. Do you know what? We're going to paint it on by hand. I'm not going to faff with that today. That needs some proper attention. I'm going to come back to that. That is okay. Whatever. We'll paint it on by hand. I've got all the time in the world for that. Okay, so gloss varnish here. It is designed for brush or for airbrush. You just have to thin it down. So it's good to go out of the bottle, really. Okay, so there we are. There's a load in my palette there on the side, as you can see, and it dries clear, so it's kind of got that milkiness to it now. That's fine. Got a big old surface we're doing that onto, so I'm just going to clean my brush down, make sure that it's nice and clean to go, and I'm going to just paint this whole knee in gloss varnish, and then I'm going to get the hairdryer out. I'm going to dry it down. I'm going to do a couple of these. Now, if I put layer on layer on layer, there are a couple of, like, do you see the big scratch line that goes across the front and down the sides? You've got this, obviously, this panel line that goes down there. If I keep on doing this and filling it quite so haphazardly, I will eventually fill the detail. You'll be able to see through it, but you'll definitely be able to see that it's been filled. So there's, you know, a pressure on me to not do that, basically. And painting it on so thick is quite easy to get carried away. Anyway, just going to turn on the old hairdryer. Just give me a second. Hopefully that's not too noisy. I can mute my microphone if need be. Okay, pretty much already dry. You can see that all that whiteness has almost disappeared. There's a little bit in some of the panel lines on the side there, and we've got a very glossy surface. The reason that we're glossing it is because it's just a smoother surface. It's just means that little bits of hair floating past my desk. It just means that it's going to be an easier surface to actually do the work on. Also means that if I make a mistake, it's going to be easier for me to come in and just kind of rub that away with my hand, so or my thumb tip or something like that. So much easier. Okay, back in with some more gloss on the brush, and I'm going to try my best now to not really get it into the creases around the outside, the panels there. Just going to put a big old dollop on the front. If I do get it into that crease, I'm going to try and lift it out with capillary action. I can't say it. You know what I mean? Capillary action. The action of the capillaries. So you can see where it's building up quite heavily down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dab out most of it on a tissue, and then use the bristles to lift it out, spread it out like that. And I'm pretty confident that 2 coats is all I need. It does self-level quite well, so it will lose all the brush strokes in there. Leave them just sitting there for a second. Wash my brush out because that varnish is quite aggressive on a brush as well as an airbrush. Shiv says, diamond and gold jewellery worth literally thousands just in a random vending machine in a city. Why? It's just insane, isn't it? Crumb says, I saw some mental stuff in vending machines on holiday in Spain, but besides the organised crime, it's a very safe and honest country. Oh, excellent. Darren's joined us. Evenings. Hi, Darren. How you doing, pal? Nice to see you again. Oh, I see Mike there saying probably a girlfriend instead of response to the what's the craziest thing you've seen in the vending machine in Japan. Yeah, maybe. Right, let's get this hair dried again. Sorry, if Stafford was watching this, he'd be like, it's not a hairdryer, it's a Dryamatic. Sorry, Stafford. Right, that is pretty much done. When I've done on my previous versions of hand painting checkers, etc., I haven't done the gloss before because all my checkers were done on Ghazgul. I had a really good time painting Ghazgul, and he has it on the back of his giant power fist or power claw. He's got them on his shoulders and things, and it did come out really well, and I was really happy with it. But it was on such a smaller scale that I didn't need to really do it, and it was all flat surfaces pretty much. This is like a dome, isn't it? On Gaz's shoulder, it's just one curved archway, but otherwise it's a flat thing. And on the back of his hand, it was just a flat, big panel. So this is like a big bowl that could get away from me if I don't play it carefully. So, excuse me. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint a straight line all the way across, bisecting that knee bowl. So let's go and find myself an area in the palette. I will use this one here. Here we go. I always give them a dust out of the fingertip there because they acquire dust and hair and fur. I will want a nice ivory colour. I've got this colour here, which is Bone White by Vallejo. I'm going to use this because it's quite runny. Normally I would use things like Screaming Skull by Citadel because it's a really nice colour and it's got a very good pigment layer to it as well. It's very good for like covering things up and hitting things often in a wanna. But this, it's a similar colour, but it might be a good idea for me to try this one because of its liquidiness to actually try and paint, you know, fairly smoothly. If not, I've got other colours to paint with. I want something that's not runny, but easy to use. Not runny, but runny, you know what I mean? Right, this paintbrush needs a really good clean out because when I was painting the grey with it earlier on, it's really got clogged up to the ferrules in there. And I really want to use this brush just to mask out that first line. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my Master's Paint Cleaner stuff. Because it's really good at getting rid of all those crappy lumpy bits of paint. There we go. Just work that up into the ferrule there. I don't want the grey coming out in that colour, do I? If I get a really good line on the first couple of attempts, then I'll be really happy with it. But if it's like all marred up with the dirty grey colour, just off screen I am just cleaning it off on the table here, just below this guy's feet. Bleh. Just trying to work it up into the ferrules, as I always do when I'm cleaning my brushes. You've seen me do this 1,000 times. There, it's starting to come out now. That's lovely. Good. It's such a good brush cleaner. It was Adrian that suggested that cleaner to me ages and ages ago. I had some liquid cleaner from Green Stuff World. It was good cleaner, but this is a similar price, and you get thousands of times worth more, and it's just very good. Cleans everything. Right, got a good point on my brush. And as simple as it sounds, I'm just going to try and paint the straightest of line as possible. So I want to draw a line from here to here. It's important, I suppose, in some way that I have a bit of a reference of where on this side here I'm going to start from. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to zoom in a bit, I think, because you guys want to see that, don't you? Let me just hold my brush. Let's zoom in a little bit. There we go. Just the branded hairdryer. It's priceless. If you look on the inside of the knee here, where is halfway? Where do I want to start it from? And when I get to the other side, it needs to be as equal as I can get it. Otherwise, I'm going to end up with a tapered line that kind of cuts across diagonally. I also want to do this line a little lower than where I think it's going to be, because inevitably as I do it I'm going to get it wrong, and if I keep going high I'm going to run out of space, aren't I? So what I'm going to do is I am going to try to hold him still. One of those things, I wonder if it would have been better if I hadn't put him back together yet, but I was just eager to do it, so there. If I push really hard with my brush, my bristles are going to splay and I'm going to get a really wide line. So all of this is going to be using the tip of this brush. I'm going to add a little bit of moisture to it. My water is a little bit dirty, but it doesn't matter. A little bit of water just to help it come off the bristles a little bit. I'm looking for high transference, but I don't want the paint to run. If it runs, it's just going to, well, it's just not going to do what I want it to do. So here we go. Excuse me if I go quiet while I concentrate. And in one motion, what I've tried to do is just get one line as straight and as level as I possibly can. I probably started a little higher than what I should have done, because what's going to happen in a minute, I'm going to end up neatening up those edges, and I might accidentally start going a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher, and working my way up. But it's on there now, so I've got to deal with it. So now I'm going to try and get that starting edge as close to the edge of the panel as possible. And already the line started to creep up a little bit. Cool. That's good for now. And now what I'm going to try and do is I'm not going to go over to the other side just yet. I'm just going to start extending this line. I want to use this line as a reference. I don't want to be over here and join it up and get into the middle and have a channel tunnel situation where actually this line's up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here. I want to be away from this line because, like starting over here, the line could start wandering away. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try in my mind just draw an imaginary line from here to here, and then from there match it up. Oh, it got away from me there a little bit. If it goes wrong, hopefully I can come in with a little bit of water on my fingertip and wash it away. And that is the gloss paint helping me there. Nope. Doesn't want to wash away. Okay, I'm going to deal with it. That's fine. And I'm trying to keep the motion in one smooth go. I'm going to dot down and then draw. Dot down and draw. But without pushing too hard. I don't want the bristles to splay. Now I'm working my way all around to the other side over here. This is where I want to go back to the other side and check a quick reference. It's just something in my mind. Where on that curve did I start? It's somewhere in the middle there. Over to this side now. And then from here I'm going to draw and then, you know, match the line up. Not bad for a bisecting line, is it? That's gone on pretty well. Has it stayed level all the way? It has actually dipped down a little bit on this side over here. So I reckon I could go up a little bit higher on this side. So where I was trying to wipe it away earlier on, probably unnecessary. So what I'm going to do, make sure I can hold him steady in my hand. There we go. paint drying in the brush quite quickly. So always keeping fresh wet paint in the brush every single dip. Every time I do a line, maybe wash it out straight away every single time. And then rather than starting a fresh line, I'm just thickening up the line. And on the subject of thick, I'm trying my best to make sure that the paint doesn't go on too thick, because it will create a texture that I don't want. So it is worth cleaning out your brush, keeping the bristles damp, and then just feathering the paint out. My paint is drying quite quickly. And now I'm just going to neaten up the edge of it. And then I can start drawing the paint down. Now as I'm filling in that bottom area, the paint is going to be thinner than the line that I've painted, just because it's, well, I'm just spreading it out further. So it's going to happen. And at this point, as you can see, it looks a bit messy. It's one of those trust the processes moments. What we set out to do, we've achieved. That line is nice and flat. It is a straight line. And we're still going to be painting checkers above it, so there's plenty of time to neaten it up if we want to. Well, I am actually going to add a bit of water to it to make it a bit thinner, because it is going on quite thick despite having a really low pigment. It's our first little bit. Yes, it could be a bit neater. Doesn't matter at the moment. Yeah, I've got my line on there. It's looking good. I'm happy with that. Went on rather well. It's the first time I've done some straight freehand painting for a while. So just going to neaten up the little corner over here. Ta-da! Our first line. Now I might actually make that line come up a bit higher. So now is the sort of time that I can start thinking about things like that. And now you can see, now that I've got a proper frame of reference on there, it's much easier for me to go in much more confidently. Try and keep the paint from building up in the scratches there. I want to paint those in later. Now, is that a perfectly straight and true flat line? No. Did I paint it by hand and am I happy with it? Yes and yes. So, yeah, pretty chuffed with that so far. Over here it looks a little bit wiggly. Gentle wiggle, kind of. So, you can see where my first line was over here and how far I've brought it up. Can you? Actually, I don't know. Actually, it's quite bright, isn't it? You can see a thick line there, can't you? So, yeah. Got a bit of a raised edge here, and I could just start bringing the rest of the line up with it, but actually what I'm probably going to do is end up ruining it, aren't I? So I'll just try and neaten it up as best I possibly can without losing too much real estate for the checks that are going to go in there. But ultimately I'm going to have black and white checks that go in there as well, so in a minute I could come in and just, you know, put some more paint on the top side and force that line back down again. But otherwise it is looking pretty good. It is okay. So one more go on this side over here. Just gonna neaten up the bottom bit down here, just in terms of its coverage. Looks a little bit patchy, doesn't it? So even though like tidying it up will be a later thing, just while it's on my mind and I've got some paint in the palette, I'll just fill in these little patchy bits. Okay. Yeah, it could be a bit neater, but we've got ourselves the first half. Okay. So, what I could do, if I wanted the background to be... So if I did white checkers and have the green as a background showing through... I've got a wet brush there, it's just left painty, watery, patchy bits on there. I could leave it so it's just white checkers that show the green through from the other side. What Adrian has identified and what he's shown me is that actually it's black and white checkers. So I've got a couple of options. I could paint that whole top part white, and then do black checkers over the top of it, or paint it black and do white checkers over the top of it. Now I don't know which one I prefer. I know that when I did Gaz, it was a black background and I painted the white checkers over it, and I know that that will be a bit easier to paint because I got a reference for it. Also, when I start painting the black on, I'm going to use it to force this line back down, and where I meet in the middle, that's going to give me a nice crisp defined line, and I might be a bit back and forth with that. When that paint is dry, the black paint specifically, means that I've got a nice easy area to work on with my white lines. Having the knee painted in gloss, I don't know if it really helped me that much. So, you know, when it comes to doing the black bit, I could gloss over it again and do the same thing. This time I'm going to try it without any gloss on there and see what sort of a difference it made. So, yeah, here we go. I'm going to find myself some black paint. I see that Steve has joined us in the live chat. Hi, Steve. How are you, pal? You okay? Are you good? Good. So my Hebrews and Shebrews. If you haven't, know that I am a man of special skills. Oh. Have you clicked on the thumbs up button? Do you know what? I should start reading the whole thread, really, shouldn't I? Cool. Okie dokie. So, I've got some black paint there. I'm going to move to a slightly larger brush. I'm going to move to my 2, I think. That's my 0. Oh, here's my 1. That's the one I was thinking of. Cool. Dampen those bristles down. Let's not throw my airbrush parts all over the place, shall we? Thank you very much. Okie dokie. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to slap some black paint into the opposite half of this whole thing here. Now I don't want it to get onto this shield emblem here. I want that to stay Dark Angel's green. So just like painting the ivory colour on here, I'm going to try and use that panel line as my outer edge definition. And for now I'm going to paint up to that halfway line, and in a minute I can force the white or the ivory back with the black. I did a little bit there just so I got close to the line, but it wasn't deliberate. Much easier to get coverage with black. Black's very good pigment. Painted over the very dark colours underneath it very well. And I'm just trying to make sure now that I'm painting right up to the edge of the panel line, which has been recessed with black anyway. So it should be quite easy to get a nice defined upper edge. Excellent. And now I should hopefully be able to try and line up or just neaten out this ivory line here. And I will be backwards and forwards with it. I know I will be. And unlike earlier, I'm using the bristles by pushing down and letting the bristles splay out, and at the outer edge of the bristles I'm using that as my defining line. But earlier with the little brush, what I was doing was I was using it like a fine tip pencil. Now essentially I'm cutting in. what we've got left over is an almost perfectly straight line between the two colours, all completely free-handed. Yes, it could be a little bit neater, but for a first go, a first pass, I'm pretty darn happy with that. The areas it could be neatened up with is right at the outer edges there, and that's a later thing, yeah. So that has gone on really well. What I am going to do is I'm going to go back to the ivory colour, and I'm just going to add a bit more layer to that because it needs a bit more cover there. I might actually end up using Screaming Skull. It was just because it was a runnier paint. I thought it'd be good for a little bit of pencil work, basically. Where is the ivory? There it is. Thoughts? It's gone rather well, hasn't it? Very happy with that. Right. Wash that out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly hit that with a hairdryer. Take a sip of my beer for a victory lap. The one thing that the gloss varnish has done very well is it's given me a really even cover. So, especially where I've just done like one layer, black was much more capable of doing it in a one. The white took 2 or 3 goes, didn't it? But it's gone very, very smooth for a hand brush. You can see the texture on where the airbrushing was down here, for example, compared to on the knee. Look how smooth that black is. And that's because I had gloss varnish down on there. Gloss varnish runs into all the microscopic layers of you know, the topography of the landscape that you're painting on, and just kind of self-levels and just makes it smoother. That's why it reflects more. And yes, you're right, Steve. Hair dryer those knees. Yes, we do all sorts of bizarre stuff here on the show, right? Okay, one last thing then before we go, because we are getting quite close to the end of the show, and that is hand painting in the first of the chequers. Now this is where things get a little bit tricky. So let's move on to some white paint. Give that a shake. Find a spot for it to go. It's going to go in the grey bit there. What I need to do okay, I've used that too much, is I need to work out where my chequers are going to be. If I start making a checker pattern here, by the time I get over here, am I going to run out of space? Probably, and that's okay, because yeah, I can't really do the math and then paint it that accurately so that the checker fits in there perfectly. So I need to work out roughly where my middle point is going to be. That middle point looks like where this scratch there's a scratch from here all the way along there, and the middle point of it is right here. I don't want it to be right there because it looks like it's been too well placed, so I'm going to move it just off center, and that is where I'm going to start. So my white paint is really quite watery, so just like using my ivory colour earlier on, I'm going to make sure I've got a loaded brush, fine point, and my tiny little brush, and I'm going to hold it this way, and I'm going to paint down, and I'm going to go right from the edge, and I'm just going to do one confident fairly smooth line to about here. There's no need for me to go all the way down because I'm starting to paint into a dome. I'm going to end up painting in the opposite direction to which my bristles allow. I want to be able to drag my bristles. I don't want to be forcing my bristles. That makes sense. So from here, I'm just going to go for it nice and confidently. I can paint over it if it goes wrong. I've got to not be precious about it. So here we go. I'm going to touch the black here. I'm happy with that. That's good. That's okay. What I need to do now is work out where that checker is going to be. Is the white checker going to be on this side of the line, or is it going to be on this side of the line? Because this is one outer edge. So I want it to be on this side over here. So how big do I want my checkers to be? I'm going to go to about here. My paint needs to be a little bit waterier. It's transferring quite hard. There we go. It's going to be a really, really thin layer of white. It's going to go on quite patchy to start with. That's fine. And I'm not worried about the fact that the checker isn't going to go all the way up yet. That I can neaten it all up with black later on. So what I've got now is I've got an outer width of my checker. I know that my checker's going to be in here. Now checkers are square generally. You could have like oblong checkers and that would look quite cool, I suppose. But I want my checkers to be square. I could look at the picture and see how many checks there are all over it. I'm doing this freehand and I'm just having fun with it and making it up. So what I'm going to do, I know that the height of my check now needs to be the same as my width. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start working it from the bottom and filling it in. And rather than doing one line and getting it wrong and then having to increase the width, the width of my checker, I can just keep doing this until it looks right. Keep your paint wet, keep it watery. You don't want it to go on too thick because you're going to end up with a texture. You don't have the space to drag the paint to smooth it out. Is that about right? And that gives me one check. Not a lot so far, is it? But what I've got now is an upper edge of my check. So from here, I can draw a line all the way along, and then I can start working out where all my other checks are going to go in. So I've got a black check in here now. So I want that one to be roughly the same. So I could start mapping in very roughly, he says, paint's dried up in my brush. I can very roughly now start mapping where all the other checks are going to go from that one. I've established my general size, and I probably will change it a little bit as the project goes on. But from here, oh, come on. Like this. Just mapping it out where it's going to be. So from here, just going to clean my brush out because it's not allowing me to paint so smoothly. Wet paintbrush in the paint. Load it up, but not dripping, just load it up. And then from the top of this one here, draw a line out. Wandered off a little bit pieced over there. I could probably paint over that, but it has given me the space to do another checker in here. This one's obviously going to be black, so I could come in here like this, and then take this line all the way up as well. If that makes sense to you. See how this line has kind of gone up a little bit, it's kind of tapered off as it's kind of moved up. But what I've got now is a map of where those checks are going to be. Let me compare that to the picture that I got, because I can see how many checks are on there. Is it just like 4 checks? Is it 8 checks? Is it a chessboard? Who knows? Until I see it. So actually on theirs, the checks are really quite big. On that, there's actually only 4 white checks on there. No, that's a circle, and that's a much bigger area there. But I could make those checks much bigger, make my life a little bit easier, couldn't I? So, what I could do from here is, rather than having lots of little checks, I could actually turn this whole area here, from here to here, into one big white check, and have a black check above it. Because it's only got that, it's got 1 white check, 1 black check. So I can make those checks really, really big. That's the basic principle. Are there any polls or just checks? Just checks, mate. That makes sense to everybody? I really enjoy this. This is such a fun thing to do. What it does take is just confidence. You just have to be prepared to get paint of the right consistency on your brush and just go, where's it going to start from? Here, and just do it. Don't do it all in one line. You're never going to achieve that. Not until you've had loads and loads of practice. But just take it out. So on an area this size here, from just inside, not all the way in, because you want to probably neaten it up later, from just beside the start point, and then draw it out about 1/3 of the way. Come back around to the other side, same, and then maybe meet them up in the middle. Always start lower than where you think the line's going to be, because you can you allow yourself that space to recover from the mistakes. Once you've got a basic line down, you can go, okay, actually I want it a bit higher, etc, etc. I'm going to have a lot of fun with that, but I'm not going to touch it now until next week so that we can carry on this little journey together. Anyway, let's come away from here to a silly place. I just love it when projects start going well. It's just fun, isn't it? So, I'm going to be over on Discord at the Easy 8 after party. I'm dribbling a little bit. So if you want to come and join me over there for a quick natter, I'm probably going to clean up my airbrush a little bit. I might even varnish down the black spots underneath the arms. I'm still thinking about sanding them down, you know. But yeah, I'm just going to give him a good old coverage of varnish, because he needs that to protect his underarms. Looks like he's doing a bit of a dance at the moment. Yeah, so that's where we're going to be. So if you want to come over for a chat, come and join us over at Discord if you haven't done so already. All links to our platforms, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Discord, they're all downstairs. Go and check them out down there. There's also, oh, excuse me, gassy beer. There's also a load of links for loads of cool people, other channels, websites, Facebook addresses, businesses, services, etc. of people who I've met along the way, and you should definitely go and give them some support. Of course, there is some sad news within the community, and that is the great Paul Sawyer from previously Games Workshop and Warlord Games from Bolt Action has sadly passed away. So today is really a sad day in the industry. There is a link on Facebook telling all about Paul and you know the end of his days and the impact that he's had within the industry. So maybe after this show, and you know what, from what I know of him, he probably wouldn't want an awful lot of attention on about it. So maybe just go and research the guy and read a little bit about him and what he did for the community, which is why I haven't really made a big deal about it during the show today, because he wouldn't like it. He wouldn't want that. So yeah, he was one of the founders of Games Workshop, moved on from Games Workshop, started at Bolt Action, which is the World War II tabletop game, and suddenly lost a long battle to cancer. So a sad day within the industry, within the community. Go and check the guy out, because he was a bit of a legend. And on that slightly somber note, I'm going to leave you guys there. I will be back here next week. I am still working a lot. Next week is a very, very busy week, so I'm going to be really looking forward to Yes, he was the ex White Dwarf editor as well. I will be here next week. The next week is getting very, very busy. I'm going to be really looking forward to coming in on Friday to have a beer with you guys and carrying on this project of checkers. So if you want to start doing some freehand checks, that will probably be the main focus of next week's projects. Come and join me there. If you've been working on something this evening, take some photos of it, stick it up on Facebook for me, and or Discord if you want to, either or if you just want to send me the pictures of your stuff. I also like seeing them things too, so do that too. Don't make it dirty, I know what I did there. Cool, and until next week, stay safe, be kind, keep on painting, get some colour on your grey. I will see you soon. Take care now, bye-bye. Here's to you, Paul Sawyer. Rest in peace, mate.